Automakers are moving up to meet the demand for four-wheel drive passenger cars. Prices, too, have been on the rise, except at Subaru. The Subaru Justy is headed in the other direction. Justy is the lowest priced four-wheel drive passenger car you can buy. So, while Subaru continues to raise four-wheel drive engineering to new highs, they're reaching new lows in price. Test drive Justy at your Subaru dealers today.
The Illinois primary.
How many think you ought to have a choice in the Republican Party?
Who says nice guys finish last?
We're going to go on from here. I think it establishes this candidacy as the one that continues to do well across the board. We're not going to win them all.
This is a new beginning for the Paul Simon candidacy.
Perhaps thrust Paul Simon back into the race. It's thrust me into the leadership of the race.
How much closer does it bring us to the final choices? Good evening, I'm Ted Koppel, and this is Nightline. Joining us tonight as we look at the Illinois returns, a Democrat who's not in the presidential race, but who, many believe, is the only one in his party who could win it. New York Governor Mario Cuomo.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
In Illinois today, on the Republican side, it was a rout. Democratic voters, meanwhile, have sowed a little more confusion. Political modesty will preclude his conceding the point, but it may prove that our main guest tonight will be the ultimate beneficiary of all that confusion. More on the charismatic non-candidate from New York, Mario Cuomo, a little later. First, the results from Illinois, and we go to our election headquarters in New York and my colleague, Peter Jennings. Peter?
Ted, there have been no great surprises in the Illinois primary. The Illinois candidates have won on the Democratic side, and Vice President Bush has displayed the same kind of strength in this Midwestern state as he did in the South on Super Tuesday. Let's look at the raw vote as of now. When Vice President Bush saw these results tonight, he said, "Who says nice guys finish last?" It has been a convincing victory. In the results for Bob Dole, some example of why all the pressure for him to drop out of the race. Dole does not heed the advice. He had nothing to say tonight, and he has been campaigning today in Wisconsin and Connecticut. In the overall race for delegates, with what he has won tonight, George Bush makes it look less like a race all the time. He needs 1,139 to actually lock up the nomination. On the Democratic side, Senator Paul Simon of Illinois has done as well here as he has done badly elsewhere. The senator did not even contest Super Tuesday. What you see here in part is voting for influence at the Democratic convention in Atlanta this summer. Many of Simon's voters don't even expect him to win the nomination. Once again, the Reverend Jesse Jackson has benefited from a very influential black vote, this time in Chicago, and he adds to the influence he will have when the Democrats convene this summer. Governor Michael Dukakis had been looking for a respectable third, and he appears to have it. He must still be regarded as the Democratic frontrunner, largely because Senator Gore and Congressman Gephardt have not done very well in Illinois. As for Democratic delegates, Senator Simon gets the lion's share tonight, but because Governor Dukakis has been consistently successful in other regions of the country, he continues to have the larger share. The Democratic candidate needs 2,082 delegates to secure the nomination. So this is what the raw vote tells us. Our exit polls tell us how and why. Joining us, our political director, Hal Bruno. Hal, if you will, fill in some of the blanks.
Well, Peter, Vice President Bush won just about every type of Republican voter tonight, men and women of all ages. Of the Republican voters, 72% believe that Bush has the best chance to win in November. Only 24% feel that way about Senator Dole, who's been claiming that he's more electable. On the Democratic side, Paul Simon won, but only 40% of those who voted for him think he can win in November. In contrast, an overwhelming majority of those who voted for Jesse Jackson and Michael Dukakis strongly believe that their candidate can be a winner in the fall election. So it's clear that Simon's Illinois victory is based on loyalty to a favorite son. Jackson also benefited from being a favorite son. He won 91% of the black vote, which accounts for a quarter of the Democratic electorate in Illinois. But unlike some previous primaries this year, Jackson did not do as well with white voters, polling only 8% in his adopted home state. So it's really a case of two local boys making good, and the Democratic picture remains as muddled as ever.
Okay, thanks, Hal, very much. Muddled, and as of now, something of a problem for the Democratic voters. Take a look at who has done what where when it comes to winning states. Governor Dukakis of Massachusetts have 12 states. Jesse Jackson, who's done quite well tonight, has 7 states. Senator Gore of Tennessee, who won his home state, and 6 others, won all those on Super Tuesday, and Richard Gephardt has won 3 states. Now, when the results were in from last Tuesday, Super Tuesday, someone observed that the Democrats were at least flying in formation. As Jeff Greenfield reports, the danger for the Democratic Party is that everybody's going to land in Atlanta at the same time, and absolutely nothing will be resolved.
It doesn't take a crystal ball or even a poll to figure that the Democrats face a long, tough fight to pick their nominee. All it really takes is some simple arithmetic. After tonight, some 1,958 delegates will have been chosen with about 2,200 left to be picked. After tonight, no candidate will have more than 600. So in order to wrap up a first ballot nomination by the time the primaries end on June 7th, Mike Dukakis or Jesse Jackson would need to win roughly 1,500 of the remaining delegates. The other candidates would need even more. And the road is even harder than that. Thanks to all those reforms the Democrats adopted in the 1970s, just about every state allocates delegates through proportional representation. If you win 50% of the vote, you get about 50% of the delegates. There are no winner-take-all states where a candidate can sweep up a huge delegate block with a narrow win, the way George McGovern did in California in 1972. Now throw in Jesse Jackson, who's all but certain to pick up at least 20% of the remaining delegates. That means that Dukakis would need about 4 of every 5 remaining primary delegates.